TV audiences will always fondly remember Lucille Ball as the star of the 1950s sitcom I Love Lucy. While the character of Lucy on the show may have been bubbly and innocent, it appears as if Lucille was a more demanding figure behind the scenes. Some have even claimed that the beloved comedic actress could be a bit of a monster when she was working on set, though her demanding nature was only in pursuit of the comic perfection that made her various shows so successful. Join FactsVerse as we take a look at how Lucille Ball was a monster on set according to co-stars. In the decades since I Love Lucy first aired in the 50s, Lucille Ball has gone down in history as one of the most legendary and inspirational comedic stars of all time. After having struggled to find fame in Hollywood for years and ending up on radio, Lucille was given the opportunity to star in her own TV sitcom. As a consummate professional, Lucille took the job very seriously. From the very first episode of I Love Lucy, Lucille put an immense amount of work into honing her comedic performances, and she expected everyone else on the set of the series to be working just as hard as she was. I Love Lucy has gone on to become one of the most popular shows of all time, so Lucille must have been doing something right. But the star's demanding nature behind the scenes rubbed a lot of her coworkers the wrong way. In the years since it ended, there have been many horror stories about what it was like working with Lucille on the show's set. One of the co-workers she could be seen butting heads with was Vivian Vance, who played Ethel. Although Lucille felt more professional respect for Vivian than she did with arguably any other co-worker on the set, the two still found themselves butting head numerous times due to creative differences. Lucille and Vivian were the same age, though Vivian was often done up by the makeup department to look a bit older and frumpier than Lucille. The purpose of Vivian looking the way she did when portraying Ethel was for comedy. Of course, Lucille's real-life husband, Desi Arnaz, was playing her husband on screen. Desi played Ricky Ricardo, who was as suave and charming on the series as Desi was in real life. Meanwhile, the character of Ethel had a husband played by William Frawley, a much older and far less attractive screen presence than Desi Arnaz. For these reasons and more, the comedy of I Love Lucy simply necessitated Vivian not looking quite as attractive as Lucy did. Understandably, the pain of having to look less attractive than Lucille started to wear on Vivian Vance during filming. Although Lucille and Vivian were the same age, Vivian's character was married to a much older man. Not only that, but she was routinely made the butt of the joke for how unattractive she was supposed to be, with her still not apparently being good enough for husband Fred despite the age gap. Vance's distaste for performing on I Love Lucy was also worsened by her poor relationship with actor William Frawley, who played her husband Fred. Fred and Ethel Mertz proved the perfect counterpoint to Ricky and Lucille Ricardo, despite the tension that occurred between the stars on set. Lucille always remained happy with Vivian's performance, even though Vivian might not have been content with her role. And the two maintained professional respect for each other and continued to work together over the years, leading up to Vivian's death at age 70 from cancer. Vivian understood Lucille was simply trying to make the best comedy possible for the TV audience, and that she never intended to make her feel bad about herself. Hey, if you're enjoying this video so far, be sure to give it a like, and subscribe to FactsVerse if you haven't already. And stick around for more about Lucille Ball. Although Lucille and Vivian didn't always see things the same way while working on I Love Lucy, Lucille claimed Vivian was the co-star she had the most professional respect for. She said no one could make her laugh on the set quite like Vivian Vance. Besides Vivian, many other stars came out after I Love Lucy's end with stories about how hard it could sometimes be to work with Lucille Ball. Former child actor Keith Thibodeau played the character of Little Ricky, and he has some memories about how demanding Lucille Ball could be to others on the set. While Keith claims Lucille was always kind towards him, he also remembers feeling a little bit intimidated by the beloved comedic actress due to how seriously she took her work. Another person who claimed she wasn't always the easiest person to get along with was fellow female comedian Edie Adams. Edie worked alongside Lucille on the Lucy Desi Comedy Hour, which was the real-life husband and wife duo's follow-up to I Love Lucy. Lucille's quest for comedic perfection continued on the series, and arguably for many years after that. According to the late Edie Adams, Lucille wasn't quite as easy to work with as many other comedians of the time. While many back then liked to keep things simple and easy on the set of their shows, Lucille was a much more authoritarian ruler on her sets. However, this attitude from Lucille was simply a result of her workflow being different than the majority of her fellow comedians. Whereas other comedians of the time had a much more lackadaisical approach to comedy, Lucille was more of a stickler. Part of the reason Lucille could be a monster on the set was that she hated improvisation. She needed lots of rehearsal to get her comedic performances exactly the way she wanted them to be, and this required everyone working with her to be able to say every single line exactly the way she needed it to be said. This insistence on perfect delivery led to rehearsals for Lucille's shows being much more demanding than rehearsals for other similar programs, and this didn't go unnoticed to her variety of co-stars. Lucille was a very physical comedic actress, and she put a lot of care into every one of her bits. During the days of I Love Lucy, this often meant going out of her way to become an expert on seemingly unrelated skills like rolling pizza dough. If the character of Lucy was going to have to roll pizza dough, Lucille was going to make sure she knew how to do it in real life. According to Lucille, she couldn't figure out how to make rolling pizza dough funny unless she really understood the art. While Lucille Ball's demanding nature on set of her shows certainly paid off, it still rubbed some of her co-workers the wrong way. Another thing that made the environment on the sets of I Love Lucy and the Lucy Desi Comedy Hour difficult was the real-life relationship between Lucille and Desi. They'd been married for over a decade before starring on I Love Lucy, and they went through numerous ups and downs throughout their marriage. They had originally been hoping that performing on the show together would save their marriage, but this didn't turn out to be true. Instead, their tumultuous relationship continued over the course of the series filming, as well as the filming of their subsequent show. Since the earliest days of Lucille Ball and Desi Arnaz's marriage, Desi had a habit of cheating on his spouse with various ladies of the night. According to the late Desi, he didn't understand why his wife would be upset about his cheating so long as the women he was cheating on her with were prostitutes. Lucille and Desi didn't see things the same way, leading them to get divorced after 2 decades of marriage. Some say one of the reasons Desi cheated so much was that he was often emasculated by her controlling behavior on set. Between the two of them, Lucille was the one with the much stronger comedic vision for I Love Lucy. Desi often had little to say about the artistic direction of the show, while Lucille exerted so much creative input it literally scared her co-workers. Though Lucille and Desi certainly loved each other, some speculate Desi continued cheating even after it began driving their marriage apart because he needed to feel like he was in control somewhere. Now it's time to hear from you. Did you know Lucille Ball rubbed many of her co-workers the wrong way due to her strict professionalism on set? Let us know in the comments section below. And before you go, make sure you give this video a like and subscribe to FactsVerse if you haven't already. Click the bell icon to stay updated on all our latest content.